Hi, everybody. Norman Van Aken here with the Treasure Book series. I've been thinking about the difference between being a very good cook and being a chef. But I've come to find out they're just different levels of the same swimming pool because the techniques and the fundamentals of cooking apply for home cooks as well as for professional cooks. Now, there's no doubt about it that some professional cooks, I'm using the word cook as an adjective as relates to the nature of cooking, the physical action of cooking, not running a kitchen. That's where the word chef relates to the word chief, which relates to the word kaput, which relates to the word head, and so on. That's the way language works. And behind me, there's a whole bunch of books. And there's some books there that are individual books about a single subject, and they're great for learning a specific thing. And then there's books like the Time Life series at the far part of the library, which is a compilation of books, a collection of books, which are essentially single subject, but they dive down deep and they get into a very good way of learning about cooking. The book that I'm going to share with you today is a book that I found myself thinking of my chefs, the chefs who have come to work with me, as a book that they should get, a book that I find to be so solid, so rigorous in terms of technique and the love of raw product. And that's this book here called Mastering Simplicity by the French chef Christian Delouvrier. That's my best French. Life in the Kitchen. This book is not a monster-sized book. I mean, it's not as big as some of the others, but that doesn't really matter, does it? It's really what you take away from the book that matters the most. This book was published, goodness gracious, in 2003. Again, that's a nanosecond in terms of the history of cuisine. I didn't ever work with Christian. I met him, did an event together. He didn't speak much English, and I spoke next to no French. But we said hello, professional courtesy, very kind face. Seemed like a really down-to-earth fellow. With deepest love, this book is dedicated to my mother and to my grandmothers who taught me that food must nourish the soul as well as the body. I find it so often to be the case that the great chefs, the Daniel Boulud, the Jean-Louis Paladin, Thomas Keller, Eric Ripert, so many that I've gotten to work with and know and appreciate. It really comes down to the way they were made to feel as children. Christian advice is the first rule of cooking well is that the primary ingredients become the building blocks of any dish. I always begin with a respect for the texture and taste of each ingredient that I'm considering. I aim to enhance and showcase the individual flavor of each ingredient, not hide it. To me, this means that I must find balance in any dish that I create. Balance comes from understanding the role each ingredient plays in a specific recipe. When I'm cooking, I'm always tasting. I'm always smelling. I'm always assessing where am I and where do I need to go. With great ingredients, you must start with great ingredients. I just love this simple picture of Christian and a young chef working in his kitchen. There's quite a lot of talk and a lot of it true about the challenges, the wrath, the rage that goes on in kitchens. But this is one person mentoring another, and I think mentor is a key word when you're considering a book like Mastering Simplicity. Again, remember, I wanted to give this book and did give this book to a number of my most intent chefs. One of the first recipes in this book is a fricassee of ceps in a bordelaise sauce. The pictures are not full color throughout. This is not like the French Laundry or Charlie Schroeder in that way. Some publishers just don't go for all that, but don't let that hang you up. Look at how beautiful this pork dish is. Oh, that just makes me happy. And what he has written here is this was a very special dish, characteristic of Sunday dinners of my childhood, usually served in the fall or winter. I would know that it was going to be on the menu when I saw my mother or grandmother place the prunes in Armagnac. Just love the idea of a young French child getting excited about some dried fruits being put into some stiff liquor. Here is his pomme souffle, which looks like a dessert. He says, I'll turn it around in a second. I really like potatoes, so I usually allow about 1 potato per person. 1 potato per person, yes. That is magnificent, Christian. Oh, here, asparagus and morels. This takes me back. Went to Paris with our dear friends Prol and Connie Perry, and we dined at Alain Ducasse. And it was springtime, and we had the springtime tasting menu. Even though it was the most expensive meal probably ever in our lives, it's worth it because I have a memory that's carried me now for over 25 years. I'm running low on time. I mentioned Mentor, and as usual, I have some letter or menu that's stuck into the books just on a different day that had not necessarily anything specific to do with this book, but it's a book by the Bocuse d'Or Foundation, which is the Mentor Foundation. And Mentor is all about teaching young professional chefs to become world-class professional chefs. And I think that belongs in this beautiful book of Mastering Simplicity. Tonight, it just so happens that we're going to one of the greatest restaurants in the city and in Florida, and it's called Ariete. Chef Michael Beltran and his team have invited us to come over and see what they've got going. And what they do have going and what they've been excelling at for 10 years now is taking the roots and the power of Michael's family's ancestry and alloying that to classical technique. Excited about being there, and I'm going to ask him if he has this book, and if he doesn't have this book, I'm going to buy it for him. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon, a great evening, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.